Hey everyone, it's Dielenka and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a senior software engineer, I'm an AI researcher, and today I'm gonna answer some of your questions because you don't want to be replaced by AI, and I know you're all afraid of that. But those are not the only questions I'm gonna answer. If you want to know more about a life of a software engineer, please hit the subscribe button below and let's get into it. No one asks. I got one question no one could answer ever: why people chase high-level programming while if you learn low-level, you know high-level too. This was exactly what I was wondering too, because when you know low-level, why would you ever start with high-level coding? Because when you know low-level, you can code high-level. But the thing is, you don't need to know low-level to code high-level, and coding high level is the easier job. When I studied at university, we had to start from the low level. So we were actually learning assembly, we were learning C, and then we built up and we came to the higher languages such as Python, etc. But many at that point already had experience with Python and they were super comfortable with coding in high level languages. It's definitely the easier and for many the more fun route. And if you're someone who cares a lot about time and space complexity and about trying to optimize everything, then low-level coding is definitely for you. And you might then later even stick to it and never move up to the high languages because, well, you understand. So my answer to that is they're afraid and they know that low level is really far more difficult than high levels, so some don't even touch it ever. AI engineer asks, hi Lenka, I'm an AI engineer. What steps should I follow to crack a high-paying job with 2 years of experience? 2 years of experience as an AI engineer actually is a lot now in the fast-moving times. So what I would do is simply try building a portfolio of everything you have done. Maybe do a certification to prove your skills. That can also help, best if it's vendor neutral, or you can target a specific company, and if you know which tools they work with, then you can do a certification within those. But the best approach for me with AI is that you should definitely show that you actually understand what you're talking about, because I was interviewing some people and they had no idea about AI, but they claimed to have experience working with AI, but everything they have done was just gluing things together, but they had no idea about what's going on. And software engineering, which is the best, web development, mobile application, or desktop? I get so many questions like these, and the simple answer to that is do what you're passionate about. Or try to think about maybe the future of the field. Probably cybersecurity is pretty safe now. That's the field I work in, luckily. But try to think about where AI is going and what you can offer to the field without you being replaced by AI, because we know we aren't being replaced currently, but it can happen in the future. Who knows? I can't say what's best. If you like to do mobile apps, do mobile apps. If you like to do desktop apps, do desktop apps. In the end, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, you're never gonna be good at it. Sunusi asks, do you vibe code? I think everyone vibe codes to a point. It depends on where you're working. When I'm working on my personal projects, I do vibe code a lot because it makes me do the task much quicker. I do have models deployed locally so that I don't share data with anyone else. But at the same time, I am trying to be the judge. I am trying to be the one who makes decisions. And I'm definitely making sure that every single line I write or the AI writes actually makes sense and I know what's happening, so that I'm not introducing some kind of security vulnerabilities. I think coding is done. You probably don't need a memory of every function you can use in a specific language. The skill of writing code on your own is probably not needed. Arkan asks, software engineering versus computer science. I didn't really have such a distinction when I was studying at my university. We were just all studying computer engineering or computer science. I actually started with computer engineering and then transitioned to computer science. Well, obviously, when you're going for software engineering, you're more focusing on the engineering part, on the software development lifecycle, and computer science should be more focused on math and logic. Alvaro asks, do you need a university degree to become a software developer? You don't need a university degree to become a software developer, but it helps a lot. For example, in my case, back then we didn't really have AI and chatbots, so I couldn't just ask someone and, well, I could ask real people. and the internet. But I couldn't like tailor everything to my personal needs. So I couldn't just ask, okay, I want to do this. This is what is fun to me. Like, what do I do? What's the roadmap? What should I learn? What should I know? You know, there was none of that. So the university definitely helped to give me like broad knowledge of many fields and subfields and topics. And you then start feeling like a god. Somebody says computer vision. I have experience in that. Somebody says assembly language. Yeah, sure. Reverse engineering, networking, machine learning, you know, math, physics. Yeah, done all that. It definitely makes your life easier. And you can also tick off the box that you have some knowledge in the field and you don't have to prove that in interviews. Like mostly you do have to prove it anyway, but it's at least something where the interviewers know that you have the knowledge, or you should have the knowledge. How did you start? Where did you start? And what really inspired you? I want to be like you. Akumo asks. So how I started, there was this big boom of smartphones, you know, when all the first flagships came out. And I was a huge Samsung fan back then. And I had every single flagship up until the S20 Ultra. And I was always in the settings. And I knew like every single setting you could set on Android at that point. And it was just so much fun, and I imagined myself being an app developer and building my own apps and shipping my own apps, and it was a dream I had. And then I was like, okay, so I like physics, and then I was just like, I'm really excited about computers, so we'll just do computer science. And within computer science, I can actually transition to basically any field which is using computers and need something to automate. So it's just like, okay, so let's try computer science. But I want to study computer engineering without knowing that computer engineering is not what I want to study. Because at that point, I was also pretty interested about hardware and how everything works. But I was not really into networking. And I have really bad memories on my networking courses, not because I hate networking and I wanted to know how the internet works, but it was not fun, and I do have some trauma from those courses, definitely. So that's why I would probably never work in networking, because I just can't get that trauma out of my head. Then I have fallen in love with coding, and here I am. L2411_ asks, how do you feel about software engineering now becoming just reviewing cursors generated code? I had a passion writing functions and features on my own because I'd be proud of it, but now AI can do these minor things faster. It's a bit annoying, but oh well. I totally agree. Like, first, when we really transitioned to using chatbots, I was like, well, something has just died within me, and I'll probably like never get it back. And it's definitely the joy of writing the functions yourself. And you can still do that now, but the question is like, is it fun when you know that you need like 30 times the time the AI needs? I mean, even more. It's a bit sad that you can now just write a prompt and get like 2,000 lines of code within like 30 seconds. And then you're standing there like, oh, this used to be my job. This used to be fun. And now all I'm doing is talking to a chatbot and checking the answers and looking for issues and guiding the AI. And is this really what I want to do? Because my job has definitely changed. You know, it's the question you have to answer. Yeah, I think coding before was more fun. But then again, like trying to look up the issue on Stack Overflow, seeing no one actually got the same issue and you're struggling. You're going through forums and you're trying to find an answer to your issue. It was far more difficult back then. It's definitely easier now, but it's also dangerous. Like, we don't know what's gonna happen with AI. By Renda Youngray 2 says that people who think coding is fancy consistently annoys me. It's not really a question, but I do have to agree. People think that coding is super easy and that it's all fun and rainbows and butterflies and everything, but it's not. And a lot of times you're just stuck on a bug. A lot of times you have to ship something quickly. You have to work overtime. You work during nights because you're trying to solve something, and it really hits your mind. And it's a really, really difficult job when it comes to like being mentally stable, because you think you're an imposter. You think that everyone's better than you. You think that you aren't good enough, and it's tough. And also, like, you're using your head to work. What I do after work is I go gardening, I bake bread, I do things with my hands because I need that. I need to shut off my brain. So after work, I'm not actually using my brain that much. It takes a toll on you. Danny says, imposter syndrome is really hard to tackle sometimes with this AI magic era where everyone expects you to deliver 100 times faster. The burnout is even worse. In cybersecurity, it gets even worse because problems arise as mushrooms in the woods. So true. Another thing, like, AI is here, everything is developing so much quicker, and there are new like startups emerging and people using new and new tools and new AI chatbots from new and new companies, and it just gets so overwhelming that you're standing there and you don't know where to look, what to do, what to try, and you're losing yourself. So you feel even more behind than before. How are you self-employed? I would really like to know. Typher asks, I used to work as a full-time employee and I only switched to being self-employed because I moved, and just employing someone in a different country is easier when they're self-employed. So I am a contractor now, and that also means I have a lot more freedom. And I don't have anyone like looking at me and looking at how many hours I work and what I do, etc. It's freeing in a way. You can get multiple clients, you can work on multiple projects. You can adjust your contract so you don't even have to work like full time for them. How I did it, I actually like transitioned smoothly to that. Like, we just agreed that it's gonna be the best option for like the company and me. So that's how it happened. And would I switch? Probably not. That's the thing. Like, once you're a freelancer, I don't think you ever want to go back to being actually employed, because then you feel like someone has this control over you, and it feels, maybe it's safer because you know that you're always gonna get your paycheck, etc. But once you know how to deal with all the taxes and everything, I don't think you want to switch back. Did your illness get better? Even though I know it's chronic, I wish you the best anyway. Zach asks. I'm gonna answer this one because I think that the illness also is related to everything I do. And yes, I do have a chronic illness. I do know what it is. I'm not ready to share it yet. I definitely will have to share it with you because it like targets my whole life and it changed my whole life, and I'm constantly tired and I am in pain all the time. And that's also the reason why I work fully from home, because here I can just have a good time and I don't have to worry about pain and everything in an office where actually nobody cares about me being comfortable. Kinda. And I don't want to drag anyone down with my bad mood during pain and flare-ups, etc. So it is kinda getting better, but I still don't know what we're gonna do about it, if they're gonna change my medication or what's gonna happen. So I still have to go through a few MRIs to find out. But thanks for asking, because it's super kind. L2411 asks, you're in cybersecurity. From what I heard about it, it just kind of sounds like scripting rather than writing code to build software. You can absolutely write software in cybersecurity. Like, all the companies developing antivirus software, they need a solution to sell to you. They also need a bunch of software to automate their tasks within the company. So there's so much software you can build. There are definitely people who are running and writing scripts, but it doesn't mean that you can't be a software engineer within cybersecurity, because actually there's so many. In my case, I am building ML models for cybersecurity, for exactly like endpoint security and trying to mitigate threats. There are a lot of options. Is AI gonna replace web development? Well, you can write a prompt and the AI builds you a web. Did that answer your question? Yeah. I think AI is not creative. AI can't think for itself. It's a general approximator. It's just spitting out words which it thinks should follow. So it's not a general intelligence yet, but we don't know what's gonna come. It also depends a lot on the companies. Like, do companies want to still employ people, or do companies really want to replace people with AI? Because nowadays you still need someone looking at the code and checking if it's valid, if it would work, which vulnerabilities it might have included, what it might have forgotten to do, etc. Hassan Yadavun Van asks, what about software engineering in future? Because I'm thinking of doing a software engineering degree, will it be useless? We don't know. That's the problem. Like when I studied computer science, I didn't know what was going to come. I had no idea. I thought, yeah, like I'm passionate about this and it's going to be a high paying job. That definitely wasn't like the momentum driving me forward, but I knew that it had a future, but now we don't know. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what the companies are going to say, you know? I don't think it's useless. I think like software engineering is definitely something that changes your life and your personality as a whole, because you start thinking in patterns. But I genuinely think that we will be just coding in English. Like, we will just be prompting. We will just be the people monitoring what's happening and making decisions for now. And we're gonna see what's gonna come. Like, I would like to say, no, you can't get replaced by AI as a software engineer, but that would be a lie, because I genuinely think that you can be replaced because you're doing something on your computer. And that can be automated. But as for now, I don't think people are getting replaced by AI. I still think that there are people who are needed to monitor what's happening, to make decisions, but we'll see. Definitely what you're learning at university might be a bit useless, because in my case, we were learning how to write code with like a pen and paper. That's definitely not needed now. Anyway, I hope I could answer some of your questions, inspire you, motivate you. I hope I didn't scare you too much. Let me know in the comments if you agree with what I've said, because you might not agree, and we can have a discussion. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!